thanks for joining me today on HIREside Chats. I'm really pleased that you agreed to it. If you want to just start off by just saying who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Cool. So my name is Adam. I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa, and I run a company called LiquidChefs. LiquidChefs is a mobile bar company. We specialize in all things liquid, being cocktails, fresh fruit smoothies, pressed juices, barista-style coffee, and we do events. We do anything from small activations for brands to big festivals to corporate parties, summer parties, Christmas parties, anything really where drinks are required or where drinks may be the focal point.
Amazing. That's so cool. So LiquidChefs, how long have you been around for?
So we started in September 2008, which, we're looking at roughly 12 years.
Wow.
Before that, I was working in hotels. As you know, the lovely Grove Hotel was the first place that I worked when I left South Africa and came to work here.
And was that your first job in the UK?
Job. Exactly.
And that's where we met. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's take us back to kind of how your journey within hospitality started, really, I guess.
So I've always loved hospitality. I've always loved food and drink service. My first job was when I was 15, 16. I wasn't even a waiter. I was the guy that carried plates to tables and glasses to tables. So I've always been in hospitality, whether it be waitering, bartending, managing restaurants, etc. Until I went to a university in South Africa, where I studied food and beverage management. And the last 6 months of my course was what they would call a practical, where I went out into the industry and worked. And that's where I had the opportunity to leave South Africa, and I came to work at the Grove Hotel. Which is obviously where I went, which is where I met you.
For those who don't know it, the Grove Hotel is a fantastic place in Watford. It's like a 5-star hotel, and they have meetings and events and stuff. And that's where I worked. That's where Adam worked as well.
That's where we met.
That's where we met.
No.
I don't even know how I got the job there, to be honest. Like, I'm still baffled that I didn't.
You were great. You've got so much personality, and you were really good to work with. I'll be honest with you. I might have given you a little bit of shit here and there, but it was
just a little bit. I mean, to be fair to you, I was awful. Like, it was a job that I had when I was at college, and it was kind of like I actually had 3 jobs at college. Like, I had 2 other jobs, so that was my in-between job.
I remember.
I worked with ridiculous hours, and it was such a good group of people to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took the piss quite a lot.
Well, yeah, you did, but I guess during those times you did it at the right time in the right places, which makes it a little bit easier. We've had all types of horror stories of things happening on guest-facing side, but what would life be like if there wasn't a bit of fun here and there at work?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the thing. We created this like family at the Grove, really. Like, and we were able to have a laugh, and we were able to like do silly things. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we did was back of house, but yeah, it was probably one of the best places I've ever worked. Because of all the amazing events that we get to work on, and like
that always made it great, eh? That just the variety and the just being able to see everything from Google doing their massive Zeitgeist conference to a smaller dinner.
Yeah,
there was a lot of variety, which was really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And do you remember back in the day when people used to be able to smoke at the bar?
Yeah,
we used to have all the people smoking their cigars in our because we sold cigars at the bar, so people were always smoking cigars if that's the one thing I can remember, is the fact that people used to smoke their cigars in my face. I'd be so
I know it was like a massive victory when that all got banned and smoking inside, and actually the smell on your clothes when you finished a shift was just very different to how it was prior, when they used to allow people smoking inside. So yeah, we were all very happy about that.
Yeah, okay. So you worked at the Grove. How long were you at the Grove for? What was your position at the Grove?
I was at the Grove for around 2 years, just over 2 years. And I worked within the meetings and events / banqueting department, and on the bar side. So my role was a supervisory role. And my job was to make sure that when there was an event, any drinks required for that event were ordered, set up, and served. So, take a wedding, we would look after all the pre-dinner drinks, guest arrivals, cocktails, champagne, whatever it was, into wine and water service during dinner, and then obviously the post-dinner bars. So, it was always, very, very similar to what LiquidChefs now does from a drink perspective. But it gave me a very good grounding in terms of service, in terms of how things work in the UK and how they're different from South Africa, because it definitely took me a little bit of time to adjust to what people drink and how they drink it and what they like to drink, etc. But it was a really good place to work, really good grounding. And, you mentioned it earlier, team. It's all about the team. And it's always been something that's been important to me in terms of how we operate. Because what we do, it's definitely not a one man. There's no heroes. You need teams. You need people operating, doing the right things at the right time, and trusting them. So, we'd built an amazing team back in the day. And it's good to see that everyone has done really well since moving on.
Yeah, so was it straight from the Grove that you then went on to LiquidChefs?
Pretty much, yeah. So I did a bit of work at a different hotel for a small amount of time, but it wasn't, it was at the time when I was in the background, just setting up all the legalities behind opening up a company in the UK. And yeah, September the 27th, 2008 was our first event.
Wow.
It was at the Barbican, and it will always hold a special place in my heart, because we delivered an amazing event. We got absolutely hammered as bartenders. We were so busy. We had queues waiting for the cocktails. And I think from that event, we picked up maybe another 3 or 4 events off the back of that, which is kind of how things really started for us. So we did our first event. We had business cards all over the bar. We had marketing material everywhere. And then, we got a few calls the following day, and somebody wanted us at their wedding, and the next person wanted us at their 40th birthday. And we primarily started doing events in the private market. We did loads and loads of 40th, 50th, 18th, 21st, weddings. We're still doing a lot of weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, you name it. On the private side, we've done it. We even did smallest event we even did was a pamper party for an 18-year-old girl and 2 of her friends, where we sent a bartender to go and make them cocktails before they went out. And yeah, so it was, it primarily started through doing events in the private market, and then slowly we started shifting more towards the corporate world.
Amazing. So do you think that because of the stuff that you did at the Grove, and because obviously at the Grove although we had the bars set up in quite a few of the locations, we had a lot of mobile bars, didn't we, at the Grove? So, do you remember the Donna Rail and all those little tiny rooms where you had to go and set up a mobile bar in a room, and you'd be like a little bar in the corner and a table full of people having dinner, and you'd just be in the little corner. So do you think you got your idea and some influence from that?
Yes, so it definitely inspired me to offer a better service than what we were providing. Obviously, not to say the service wasn't good, or let me rephrase that: a different service. So working in a 5-star hotel, comes with its responsibilities in providing a 5-star style service. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am,
Yeah.
etc. Whereas, LiquidChefs was built on different principles. We really wanted to provide a service that was fun, energetic, interactive, something that people remember, something that people will talk about. We used to do things, and we still do things that are just different to everybody else. We have our signature high five, which when somebody orders a drink from the bar, they got to give us a high five if they want it, and it's a kind of thing that becomes contagious.
Yeah.
People tend to love it. They've had 2 or 3 drinks. The next thing you know, they're coming to you and asking you for a high five before you even get a chance to offer them. So, it's a very different style of service where we still take, the supply of everything that we do, making sure that everything is in the right place at the right time is the most important thing. But adding a fun twist on it so that it leaves people excited about the service that they're going to be experiencing. So making sure everything is done 100% and everything is in the right place at the right time, and add fun to that, and then you get LiquidChefs. Because with what we do, it's very different to catering. It's very different to food.
Yeah.
If somebody's having an event and they've got 100 people and they want steak and chips, it's quite simple. You're looking at 120 portions, 110 portions of steak, 110 portions of chips, and you make it work. When it comes to drinks and varieties of drinks and understanding what people like to drink and how much of everything to have at hand so that you're not running around chasing your tails, that's something that took us, some time to get right. Not to say we have it 100% spot on, and every now and again we find that we've run out of something, and we're having to run around in the night to make sure that we can get more. But we learned a lot of lessons in the beginning of what the best ways of doing things are, and I think we've really put those lessons into play, which has really showed in the latter part of of our business.
And what would you say your why is? So like, what's your purpose? What's your why?
So I guess for me, purpose has always been just providing an adequate service based on whatever the brief is. So I guess a lot of people have seen companies that don't specialize in drinks undertaking the drink side of an event, and seeing how often you'll go to a summer party and the beers that you will take off a tray will be warm, or the cocktails will be too watery, or you'll be in a queue to wait for a drink. And I've always said that you need to be able to specialize in that field to provide a good quality service. And a lot of caterers here in the UK are unbelievable. The food that they present, the way that they do it, the rationale behind how they do it is amazing. But often the drink service, falls a little bit. And it's where a company like us come and specialize in providing, service, making sure people aren't waiting in queues, making sure you've got a variety of everything. So that if somebody does come to the bar and wants something, a little bit wacky or weird, we're accounting for it.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to a party or to a club and you've walked up to the bar and you've seen a massive queue and there's 500 people and there's one bartender or 2 bartenders trying to keep up, and it's just not how it should be. So we've also found that there's definitely a niche in certain events there's a niche in certain events where the drinks are more important than the food side of it. And the food is almost you need to have food because you're having drinks, but drinks are the big thing. We also do a lot of work with the brands. So, we do a lot of work with Schweppes and Coca-Cola and a lot of their brands. So, it's a chance to show people the skill, the quality, what we can do from a drinks design perspective. We do a lot of consultancy for the brands, etc. So I guess the purpose of why, or your question with relating back to why do we do this? I think there's a serious gap, in the food service industry for better quality drink services, and obviously understanding the brief given what is required and providing the right services given that. So, and I think that's something that we do really well. And I do think that we provide a good solution to a lot of people's problems. A lot of caterers, a lot of events, a lot of places, the food side is relatively easy, but getting the drink side right, people remember when they wait in a queue for 20 minutes for a drink at an event. They'll remember that more than they will remember that the food may not have been as good as it has been or something like that. So, it's all about service.
And I think you're 100% right there. When you go to any event, and I think because the catering market is quite saturated, there's so many caterers you can go and get amazing food. And, when you go to an event, people always pay a lot of attention to the food that you eat,
Yep.
And actually less so to the drinks that you're drinking.
Yeah.
And actually, the amount of times I've gone to an event and the cocktails are too weak or they're too watery.
Or have been made too early, or the champagne was poured too early, or
or the drinks run out. Like, it's crazy how drinks are so important, but yet are such a second thought. So
exactly.
Definitely found the niche, and making sure, and your why is clear, is really good, because it's all about making sure you're specialist in that field and what you're doing.
Exactly.
Love that.
That's exactly it.
Love that. So what would you say your most memorable moment is so far in your career?
I mean, there's been a lot. So, I've seen more countries in the last 12 years than, most people. We're very, very lucky that our clients trust us to go and execute events all over, and there's a reason why they would prefer to work with us as opposed to local companies that may be, marginally cheaper, but that just wouldn't provide what they're looking for, We've worked all around the world in some incredible destinations. I would say my most memorable moment would be actually this year in February. We did a really big party in India, around 20 kilometers from the Pakistani border, where they basically built an entire party for a 50th birthday in the middle of the sand dunes.
Wow.
In the middle of the desert. So during the day, it was boiling hot. At night, it was freezing cold. And, we were dropped in the middle of this event and had to make it work. We had sent shopping lists for all of our requirements, which was met. So, we had everything we needed, and we executed it incredibly. It was an amazing experience. Our clients loved it. They really looked after us. So that was an amazing, memorable moment. I would say biggest achievement will also be this year. Weirdly enough, all the good things that I talk about are in 2020, but it's also the year of doom and gloom at the moment. But this year, for the last 11 years, we've been doing the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, which is pretty much our biggest project of the year.
Yeah.
And this year, we took close to 200 staff members to the Swiss Alps, and we did a massive amount of events. I think we did about 46 or 47 events in 4 days. And we also took on the food side. So we had chefs, we had bartenders, we had logistics people, we had what we call a liquid mum, who were a group of people that were just there to look after people.
No way.
When you're looking at, I think there were around 185 people in total that came to Switzerland with us. You're talking accommodation, you're talking flights, you're talking what are they eating for breakfast, dinner, lunch, where they're working, how they're working, what their uniforms are, who their clients are. So it was the biggest project that we've ever done. which is why I would say it was our biggest achievement. It was very, very stressful. A lot of us spent around 2 weeks working, anywhere between 10 and 16 hours a day, sometimes more, in the freezing cold. We're talking at night, it can be as cold as -10, -15 degrees. And during the day, anything over zero is great as a bonus. So, but it's also something that we've been doing every year, and it's something that we built up with. So our first year, which was 2009, was four of us that went out to Davos. And then this year, over 180 staff members.
Wow.
With logistics and planning and trucks, and it was incredible. It was fun, and I would definitely say it's our biggest achievement.
Amazing. That sounds insane. I mean, next time you're doing it, please can I get invited?
You certainly can.
I'll be a liquid mum. I'm so good at that.
No, I know you will. I know you will.
So my next question would be, what's your biggest lesson that you've learned so far in your journey? Because you've done so many amazing things, but what would you say you've learned?
So I learn lessons all the time. All the time. Lots and lots of little lessons, where, and I guess a lot of the lessons are learned early on, in making mistakes at event, promising certain things, and then on site, just understanding, hey, that doesn't actually work. So, the next time somebody asks me for that, this is a practical example of what I can give as to why it won't work, etc. Biggest lesson. I don't really have a biggest lesson. I've got lots of little lessons.
Yeah.
And I think what's been important for me to try and maintain as we've grown the company, because there's 25 of us full time at the moment. But the biggest lesson that I tried to keep on doing was making sure that all the lessons that I had learned, I'd try and pass them on to the people that were doing the work that I used to do 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So that, it's important not to make the same mistakes, and that's always been the hardest part, because as we've grown, I've always looked at new and different things, innovative ideas of what we can do and what makes us different, whilst our team are continuing the flow and the process that they have been doing for the last 12 years in coordinating events. And often events are planned and I'm not privy to it, etc. So, and often I may have been in that situation and could make a lot of quicker decisions that would solve people a lot of time and a lot of hassle. So biggest lesson, I don't really have one, but I guess for me, it's always been important making sure that all the small little lessons that I have learned, I try and pass on to the rest of our team.
Yeah, I think that's quite important. Like I do that quite a lot at the moment at work, and I think every time I see someone that's doing something that I would have done back in the day, I always go, "Oh, do you really want to do that? I would probably do it this way because I've done it that way before, and this is the result." And I actually quite like it when I see people that I've told not to, like giving advice to, where I've seen that they were going to do something, they've changed the way they've done it, and the outcome's been so much better.
Yeah,
it's so rewarding, isn't it? Because
very rewarding,
and it's nice. It's a nice way to see lessons learned, but through someone else.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I get that. Amazing. Okay, so what would you say is your biggest regret, or something that you probably would go back and change if you had the chance?
Do you know what? I've had the most incredible ride of my life.
Yeah, you have.
Once again, we've made lots of little mistakes. I don't know if I have any major regrets though. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe it was longer. We were doing an event in Belgium. We were launching the Google office in Brussels, and I'll never forget the experience of packing our truck, driving all the way to the ferries, crossing over Dover to Calais, and getting pulled over on the other side, asking them to weigh our vehicle. this was before we had any clue that there was weight restrictions or anything. It just goes in with the little lessons that we've learned. Long story short, we were more than double what we were allowed to carry in our truck. And I had to phone a friend who was living in Paris at the time, asked him to hire a van to meet me in Calais to unload half of the things from my van into his van so that I wasn't over the limit from a weight perspective.
Wow.
So it's, it's things like that, lessons that are learned, but do I have any big regrets? I don't think so. I find work for me is more of a hobby, and I come and I have fun every day, doing the things I love doing. So I don't think there's many things I regret on a big scale, but there's a lot of small regrets of mistakes that we've made and how we've learned from them, etc. But no major regrets.
That's good. I think it's actually really like amazing when people don't have any regrets, because I think it's harder to live with regrets than not. The flip side to that would be kind of what's the thing you love the most about your job and what you do at the moment?
What I love about my job is receiving new briefs and making recommendations based on what those briefs are, if that makes sense. So we're in a very fortunate position, or we were in a very fortunate position before Corona came around, where we work with the type of clientele that do have generally bigger budgets. And when it comes to creativity from a bar perspective and how to link drinks to an event through theming, I think was probably one of the things that I do enjoy most about my job. Coming up with creative ways of getting messages across through a drinks, or branding, or innovative ideas, etc. So I guess it's also one of my strong points is understanding how an event works, and obviously making sure that what we are recommending is possible to execute given all the parameters. So an example was, we once had a client that really loved working with us. They're like, they trusted us. They wouldn't speak to anyone else because they knew that we got it. They knew we understood. They knew that the things that we did and in the build up and how we operate was all done in a way that was just seamless, and we didn't leave any room for error. They came to me, it must have been about 6 or 7 years ago, and they had a wedding in Italy, and they just said, listen, we can't afford to bring your team out or to do this, but can you help me plan the drink side of it? And it was a 4-day Asian wedding with loads of different events, and all I had was a floor plan of the entire property, and a running order. That's it for 4 days. And I had to put together all of the requirements from a bar perspective. I had to put together all the drinks requirements, the shopping lists, how many staff to have, what time the staff should come, what time the staff should leave, how many glasses to order, how many kilos of ice. I mean, you name it. I'd planned the entire wedding.
Wow.
And handed it over to the local team to execute. Just by looking at a floor plan and understanding the timings, and just knowing, how big the bar needs to be given the type of service. How many meters of bar given 500 guests, of which 300 are drinkers and 200 aren't drinkers. So, there's a lot of technical elements that go into planning a drink service. And it's something that I think I've, over time, really picked up pretty well, which is why, I think we've had an incredible run with the events that we've done, because, we're always providing successful events, based on the fact that we understand what is required given the brief. So I would say that is one of the things that I love most about what I do.
Yeah, being able to be creative, I think, is such an amazing feeling, isn't it? Especially when you see your creation come alive. It's like
100%, nothing better.
You see the brief at the beginning, and you see the event at the end, and you're like, Jesus, like
nothing better.
Amazing. Okay, so who inspires you?
a lot of people inspire me. You know, I get inspired by lots of little things. You know, I'm a massive fan of teamwork and family,
Yeah.
and nothing inspires me more than when I see our team coming together and working together, and especially, you know, seeing that on a massive scale where we had, you know, 180 odd staff members, all with clear assignments and projects in can. Everybody knew what they needed to do. The planning that went into it, everything, you know, it really inspired me to keep growing and keep doing more. If you're asking for, you know, figureheads that inspire me, I mean, there's lots. I'm a massive fan of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, of his
Really?
team. I mean, I'm also like, I used to be, and I still am, a very positive person. I'm a very glass half full type of guy.
Yeah.
And positivity inspires me, and just being around people that are positive and happy. And, you know, there's nothing worse than negativity, and you know, how negativity affects people is just, it's insane. You know, when you actually look at what it does to people, it's yeah. So a lot of things inspire me.
Yeah.
I can't really say that, you know, there's a specific
No,
thing that
I
inspires me.
like the answer.
Especially.
I like the answer of, you know, people inspire you, positivity inspires you. Like
100%.
that's, I think that's really important, because, like you said, especially in this current climate that we're in at the moment, it's so easy to get lost in the negativity and the negative
100%.
things that are happening.
100%.
And I've had to actually detach myself from too much negativity, because it doesn't do anything good for my mental
No,
well-being.
it definitely doesn't.
And it gets you nowhere. Like, I'd rather go, okay, this is the negative side of what's happening right now, but then this is what the positive that can come out of it. But that's also really hard to do sometimes if you're feeling
it is really hard to do sometimes, but also everyone has a choice. Everyone has a choice as to whether they want to be negative or positive given a situation, etc. And it's, you know, it's one thing just standing around and just being negative about, you know, a bad situation, you know. And, you know, I just, it's always been something that's been important to me. Positivity is key. And it's, yeah, it's always been something that we've tried to drill into our staff, you know.
Yeah.
And that echoes all the way through to our events. You know, we push our staff to be engaging and bubbly and interactive, and, you know, party starters, and, you know, every adjective that you can think of that makes you happy and excited is what we try and instill in our staff, so that when they're receiving, or when guests are receiving a service, they're, you know, they just think everybody's happy. But, you know, all it does is lighten the mood up. All it does is just, you know, get people, you know, it gets people going. So yeah, positivity is key.
I think that's hospitality all over, isn't it? Really, hospitality is all about creating this feeling that people get, because, you know, there's a saying, and I can't remember the saying, but it's like something along the lines of, people won't remember you for what you did, but the people remember you for how you made them feel.
100%.
I don't actually know who said it. I feel like Oprah. I can't think, but someone like Oprah must have said it. But I think it's so true about the hospitality sector, and, you know, people go somewhere to experience something and to be made to feel some way, and they leave with that feeling, rather than remembering, oh, I remember that boy who gave me that drink.
100%. So I guess also for us, the people that work with us really want to be working with us. You know, it's not like we are, you know, doing any monotonous jobs where you're going to the same place, doing the same thing every day. Every day is different. We're in different locations, in different, you know, different spots, making different drinks for different people. You know, so I really think our staff work because they love it, and that makes a massive difference to people that work because they need to work, and they need to get their job done, and they need to, you know, they need their pay to do whatever they want with their pay. You know, we've always tried to capture a market of people, staff, the right type of staff with the right type of energy, with the right, with the right backgrounds and the right, direction in life, I guess. So, finding those people has actually been quite easy, because, it's almost like an element of it being contagious. People see it and they want it, or they want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's always, we've always found the right type of staff just through doing events and through people saying, hey, I want to work for you guys because you look like you're having so much fun, and
Yeah.
we're very strict when it comes to work. We never drink on duty. It's always been a pet hate of mine. You can remember from the Grove days.
Yeah, I do remember.
but it's I can definitely say that our staff work because they enjoy it, not because they feel like they have to.
Okay.
And as soon as somebody feels like they have to be doing it, then they may not be the right person to be on my shift.
Oh, Adam's got strict. Okay, so when things get tough at work, or get tough in general, who do you go to? Who's the go-to person?
So, do you know what? Firstly, our team is more like a family. We've always talked about the fact that it's very family orientated. We work really hard at certain times, and when there's times to chill, we chill. But I would say, depending on what the situation is, I would speak to certain people within the business. I have different people that specialize in different parts, whether it's finance or brand related or drinks creation, or just as simple as warehouse packing, etc. So it all depends on what's getting hard as to who I'm speaking to. But it's generally my team. My team is what makes me tick. And I definitely don't know everything, which is why we employ specific people in specific places to make sure that we have the best, the best planners, the best bartenders, the best managers, the best packers, the best whatever we're doing. I want the best people in the right places is what's important to me. And I don't have a problem speaking to anyone about any worries that I have. If whoever knows me knows how stressed things get before we do a big World Economic Forum in Davos, or a big Cannes Lions, or something that's big that's coming up, that there's a lot of pressure. It's felt everywhere. But we try and do it in a positive and an uplifting way, so that it's not a contagious stress. It's right, we're all in it together, and we're all going to work as a team to get through it together, is what's important. And it's all about team. We would be nowhere without our team.
I love that, because you hear people say it all the time, but it really, like, hospitality is all about the teams around you and the people around you. It's definitely about the people.
100%.
And I love the answer. I loved it a lot. Okay, so what would you tell your younger self? What would you tell Adam when he was younger?
Do it's a hard one, because I'm, I have no regrets. I guess it would maybe to try and adopt a little bit more of an admin approach to things. My admin skills are not very good, but I guess it's one of those things that you either have or you don't have.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I've identified that my admin skills are terrible, I've got the right people in the right places, making sure that we've got everything covered within the team. But it's another tricky question. It's a good question, but what would I tell my younger self? I guess just to keep going and to stay positive, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the outcome is. We've been in some tricky situations. We've had, everything you can imagine. We've had difficult situations abroad where we've had to deal with things throughout the night. We had a big juicing crisis in 2019 when we did a massive event in the south of France, which literally broke a whole lot of people. But
oh, wow.
Do you know what? You've got to remember the end goal. You've got to remember how good it feels to finish and to have everything packed up and our trucks are gone. That feeling of finishing and everything had gone to a success, there's just nothing that beats that. Nothing that beats the feeling of finishing a successful event. So I guess the best advice I'd give to my younger self would be to try and work on my admin, but just to keep going and to stay positive. Positivity, if you adopt a positive mindset, everything becomes easier. Everything becomes funner. Everything becomes, better in my eyes.
Amazing. Okay, so obviously at the moment we're in the middle of a pandemic. Don't know if you know that. So I'm all over the news.
I know.
What are you guys doing? What are you guys up to now at the moment during this?
So that's a great question. We've been thinking long and hard as to how we can pivot our business and what we do. And one of the things that we have started doing is offering virtual masterclasses or virtual drink experiences, where we are pre-packing boxes at our offices and our warehouses, and we're delivering them. So, you may have an event where you wanted to finish it off with a few gin and tonics or maybe a mojito. You may have an event where you want to get your whole team to interact and all make their own cocktails. So we have lots of solutions for that, whether it's sending out a box with cocktail equipment and all the ingredients that you need to make a specific cocktail. Then dialing into a Zoom call like this with one of our mixologists who, it could be as short as 10 minutes where you're learning how to make one drink, or it could be as long as an hour where you're learning how to make 4 different drinks. But we found it's definitely something that is picking up a lot whilst people can't meet face to face. Do I think it's going to last long? I don't. I think, and I really hope that things will be back to somewhat normality from an events perspective. I know this is the glass half full side of me. A lot of people think it's grim, and the outset is grim, but I don't know. We're social animals. Do you think that 50,000 people are never going to go watch football again? It's inevitable that something needs to happen and life needs to go back to normal. And I really think it will. But in the meantime, virtual is the way to go. We've done everything from gin and tonic paired boxes to espresso martini boxes to mojito boxes. You name it, we can brand cocktail equipment. We can put glassware. We can do absolutely anything and deliver it to people's houses. So it's quite fun, and it's, I guess, something that you can learn whilst you're at home.
I love that. So are you able to create so for instance, if I wanted to do a cocktail at home with my team, I could get a cocktail making masterclass box, you send it out to me, and then all my team, then we all jump on.
That's
and then we all get cocktails. Okay.
That's exactly it. So we did a masterclass about a week ago for a big client who are now rolling it out to all the sub teams within their organization, and we get 20 people on a call at the moment. So so that there's an element of two-way interaction. We can do bigger numbers. We've done 100 people before, but obviously it's more of a one-way type of communication, because you can imagine if 100 people are trying to ask you questions at the same time, it doesn't really work on a Zoom call. So, we have solutions to all of, to any type of brief from an actual events perspective, depending on what the nature of your meeting is, and whether you want it to be an icebreaker, or whether you want it to be a celebration drink afterwards, or whether you wanted it to be more focused on drinks and how to make cocktails. And, we teach everything from how to muddle, how to shake, how to do a lot of your classic cocktails. And it's fun, it's interactive, and I guess it's also safe. There's no element of driving afterwards. You're at your home, you're safe, you fall over in your bed and you pass out.
That's the best thing about these virtual, the amount of virtual quizzes and bingo games and stuff I've done. But actually, when you finished it and you've got quite drunk, the best thing is just being able to switch your laptop off and go upstairs and get into bed.
Exactly. Exactly.
My other question, you know, I'm going to throw it out there. What would you tell anyone that's looking or thinking of starting their own business or got an idea? What would your words of wisdom be to them?
Do you know what? If you've got it in your mind that you want to do your own thing or start your own business, just do it. You know, there's you know, it's if you've got those things rattling around in your head, it tells you you're a type of person that is entrepreneurial, and you know, don't give up. You know, we had to find funding, we had to jump through hoops, we worked, I mean, hours out of the sun in the beginning when we first started this business. And you know, it is definitely one of the most rewarding things that I you know, that I can say that I've done in my life. I've loved every second of it. I've met some of the most incredible people. I've had some of the most incredible experiences, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, my advice would just be, if you will it, go and do it. You know, there's make a way, find a way. You know, speak to people. You know, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that you can read in terms of how you can do it, but no better way than doing it yourself. Is what my advice would be.
Just go and do it. I love that. That's a good way to end the conversation. So before we end it, how can people get in contact with you, Adam, if they're wanting to get in contact?
So firstly, we've got our website, which is www.liquidchefs.co.uk. We have an office phone, which people can call on, which is on the website. The number is 0207 183 5432. Or you can just email sales@liquidchefs.co.uk and speak to one of our sales staff members. We do have quite a lot of people furloughed at the moment, but we are still operating. We are still dealing with virtual inquiries, and even people that are planning events in 2021, which is somewhat exciting. People are starting to plan their events for 2021. So it also gives me some good hope, and every event that people are talking about just makes me feel that much better.
Yeah, so, I mean, people will have to go on. Like, the world has to keep
the show will go on.
Yeah,
100%. And besides for that, we're also on social media. We're on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're on Twitter. At LiquidChefs UK is where you'll find us. We're posting some cool things. In fact, we had a really cool competition which ended yesterday, where somebody and 4 of their friends won a cocktail experience where we're delivering 5 cocktail boxes to people's houses, and they will jump on a Zoom call at some stage in the next couple of weeks where they will enjoy those drinks.
Oh, I love that. I will add the links at the end for everyone to be able to get in contact with you. Awesome. But thank you so much, Adam. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we did it, and we definitely 100% need to get a beer or a drink or a cocktail after this is all over.
I really look forward to that, Junior.
All right, thanks very much, Adam. I'll speak to you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now.